Yo, 5 stages of grief. Academics is finally he's at the end, y'all. He's on the fifth stage, fifth and final stage, accepting.
All right, so Kendrick Lamar has been named the number one pop star of 2024. I want to congratulate I want to congratulate Kendrick Lamar. If you ask me, and this is my story, I'm sticking to it. I believe that Kendrick Lamar's plight over this year and over his entire career has been one that's been marred with a lot of things: hard work, dedication, curation of very
Marred? I thought marred was like a negative term.
quality product.
What are we talking about?
Jealousy. I think
Jealousy.
Kendrick has believed that he's the best rapper,
Okay, true.
the purest rapper, and the most talented rapper.
True.
But I always felt like when I saw him criticizing his peers, he came off as discontent that they would get more accolades, whether by fans or other media, that he wouldn't get.
Really? Fellow Kendrick supporters in the comment section, when has Kendrick ever come across like that? To my knowledge, Kendrick Lamar is the most decorated rapper in terms of awards and accolades, which is what Ak is speaking about. Kendrick Lamar is the most decorated of his generation. Kendrick even has more accolades than Drake. Like Kendrick has, in terms of Grammys, this is what everyone cares about right now. I thought we stopped caring about Grammys, but we still can. Not only does Kendrick have more Grammys than Drake, he has way more. Like Drake will probably, even if Kendrick stopped making music at the end of 2024, Drake still would not catch up. That's how many more Grammys Kendrick has than Drake. Pulitzer Prize, which, you know, is very rare for any musician really to really get. Kendrick has one of those. He's always been the most decorated. So I'm not sure what Ak is talking about here.
That they would get more accolades, whether by fans or other media, that he wouldn't get.
And he says by fans. What accolades do fans give out? In terms of fans, Kendrick has he has the advantage of being insanely popular in the mainstream while also having the respect of the underground and the hip hop elitists. So I'm gonna let him make his point though.
Sometimes the cure for those people is for them to get their own way. And I think that whether you believe it or not, I think Kendrick always wanted to not be a pop star in terms of type of music, but to be recognized as one of the biggest pop stars while seemingly never changing what he's always done.
What?
I want to give credit to Kendrick Lamar because he's finally gotten that. You're the number one pop star of this year. And what this has shown us is that, number one, it is possible to make music like how you make, that maybe in a vacuum can be seen as niche and it's only for the rap, aficionados.
Sure.
But it could work and it could make you number one. But one of the reasons I'm also happy for Kendrick is that I think Kendrick needed this moment because when I listen to his music, it feels he's been fighting from a not necessarily underdog perspective, but he's been not content based on the success of others. Finally, this is the year that
Kendrick's music to Akademiks sounds like basically he's saying Kendrick is jealous of others. How does Kendrick's music, what about Mr. Morale screams jealousy? What about the Damn album screams jealousy? What about To Pimp a Butterfly screams jealousy? I thought the point that Ak was gonna make is that Kendrick, he's still making music like he has something to prove, like he's still hungry and you can hear it. I gotta hear that point one more time. My fault.
Not necessarily underdog perspective, but he's been not content based on the success of others.
What?
Finally, this is a year that he could say to himself, he is the most successful artist this year.
Okay.
I want to see how his music changes. Because I think he's always rapped from being number 3 in the pack or number 2. And watching a guy like...
Wait, so Kendrick, it's just so much. In this 2.5 minutes, it's just so much. I thought this was going to be Ak, finally getting to the acceptance stage. It seems like Ak is still in denial. Kendrick has always rapped from being number 3 or number 2 in the pack, which obviously this is an allusion to the big 3, Kendrick, Drake, and Cole. What, even if you believe that, what is the example of Kendrick always rapping like he's coming from the number 3 spot?
Example, Drake, and I think his personal opinion of Drake is that, I'm better than this nigga. I rap better than him.
Sure.
I write by myself. He write with 10 people.
Sure.
Y'all call him a this. Like, he's dumbing it down. I'm actually lyrically it up. You're finally number 1 now. I want to see what music Kendrick makes when he has no longer the leg to stand on, his uncomfortability or him not being happy about not being the biggest, right?
Well, he just dropped G and X. Kendrick just dropped an album. Like it's not even a month old at this point, right?
So Kendrick, you're the guy now. We've never number one. Don't be talking about number 2, 3, or 4. You get to tell us. And I've always said, I think this is going to show a difference.
Sure. I mean, if obviously I want to do this video without mentioning Drake, but sure, number 1 does talk about number 2, 3, and 4. For example, Akademiks is a Drake fan, right? So I'm sure he's considered Drake number 1 in many years throughout hip hop. Drake has a lyric where he goes, "These bench players, they talking like starters. I hate it." So Drake is not even only talking about number 2, 3, and 4. He's talking about like all you other bench players. Even though I'm not gonna give you a name drop, still shut up though. This is hip hop. It happens. When Jay-Z was number 1, he was going at Dipset. They were nowhere near number 1. Shout out to Dipset though. So, you know, I know y'all like me to do these Akademiks videos because I could provide some pushback. So it's getting ridiculous though.
Side of Kendrick, because there are
These
certain
backhanded
people who I believe
compliments.
they operate well when they're the underdogs and when they need people to help bring them to number 1. But Kendrick's number 1. He's doing a stadium tour. He's probably gonna win a shit ton of Grammys.
He's done stadium tours before, and he's already had all those Grammys. Like the same amount of Grammys that Kendrick had before all this Drake beef, it's the same number he has now.
One of the high selling albums. He has the biggest song. He's the number 1 pop star. And also, here's the thing too. What he said to Drake when he said the pop star, like, you're a pop star as well. I want to see how Kendrick leads the pack, not operate as someone trying to dethrone the person leading the pack. It's your show now, Kendrick. For the foreseeable future, especially going into, let's say if you drop a project in and around February, we want to see how you carry this.
So I think the point Akademiks is trying to make, beyond all the backhanded compliments and like the shady, kind of undertone, is that Kendrick has always rapped with a chip on his shoulder. But now there's really no chip on Kendrick's shoulder to be had because Kendrick has accomplished every single thing you could possibly accomplish as a rapper. Kendrick hadn't done that before. I don't think Kendrick had a number 1 solo song before on the Billboard. Maybe Kendrick, I'm sure Kendrick has had the top selling album in a given year, probably with that Damn album. But there are things that Kendrick hadn't done before that he's done this year. So now that I think the point Akademiks are trying to make, but it's just coded in like hate speech. Like it's coded in like some hate like type stuff going on. I think the point he's trying to make is Kendrick doesn't have, or there's no need to have for Kendrick to have this chip on his shoulder. So now what is his music going to sound like? Is it going to change? Which I don't think it is. Really, I would like for Kendrick to give us his next album, to give us a nice conceptual album. Go back to what he used to do. G&X was a departure from what Kendrick used to do in terms of albums. But what Ak is doing is he's setting up Kendrick for an L narrative. So if Kendrick goes back and does another super conceptual album that's not super focused on just bops and hit records like G&X kind of voice, then Ak can say, oh, you had the ball, but then you didn't drop another number 1, so it's an L. That's why we need Drake. Like, we can already see the play, man.
I think that's going to be legacy worthy, right? Because I think that would showcase a different side of Kendrick. I've always told y'all, Kendrick keeps complaining about the state of music, yet also bragging about the fact that he's the culture and he is emboldened and empowered with the ability to change it. There's no more excuses.
Here we go with the narratives.
You're the guy. If you think that all that whatever music that Drake or Cole or Future or whoever is making is not, you said watch the party die. Let me tell you, a lot of people have a lot of goals, but they never plan for what happens after they hit the goal. The goal is already hit. Biggest song, one of the biggest albums, number 1 pop star, performing at the Super Bowl. You're the guy. Lead and lead responsibly. Now we're going to see if you really meant everything you said. Because when you stood on those morals and principles about how you thought shit was fucked up, you have the utmost ability to change it now.
So I can understand the point Academics is making. I would just rebuttal by saying Kendrick has been the guy. Now, Academics will rebuttal by saying, well, Kendrick never had a number one record, or he didn't have like a number one album, or he'll rebuttal with like something that happened this year with Not Like Us or with GNX. Well, he didn't have that before. Well, Kendrick still had the accolades that Academics mentioned earlier. Like Kendrick is the most decorated artist of his generation, and it's not close. Um, but I do understand the point of, okay, since Kendrick, you think there are things wrong with music and the music industry and like the rap and the things people are rapping about, what are you going to do to change it? Even though I don't necessarily think Kendrick needs to change it, all he has to do is lead by example with his own music. But I can understand that critique because my thing is when I heard "Watch the Party Die," I love that song. But then I heard GNX, and I'm like, you got all these gang banging rappers just on this album. I don't get it. Why not bring on someone of your cloth who makes great, who puts music first, not gangs first? They got the work ethic like you do, Kendrick. Why not put a West Side Boogie on your album? Reason. Um, I know y'all really like Doechii. I'm not a huge Doechii fan. She hasn't really impressed me the way she's impressed y'all. But still, these artists whose music is music first. Nothing is first other than family and God and then music, not the street stuff and the gang stuff. But I understand what GNX was. It was a West Coast thing. But I'm saying that to say I do understand that critique.
I do want to say I do think this puts pressure on Kendrick that I don't know if he's ready to face yet. And what's that pressure, you might ask?
Yeah.
I don't think Kendrick raps like he's number one. And it's not about rapping ability. Kendrick raps from a place of oppression. It's like, don't you see BLM? BLM wouldn't be protesting if everything was good. Like, they only operate when shit is bad.
So basically, is he saying Kendrick makes BLM, Black Lives Matter music? Like, are we going with this narrative again when Kendrick has what, maybe 3, at most 4 songs about uplifting Black people, as if that's a bad thing, right? You got which is I Love Myself, which is more about gang unity. You got Blacker to Berry, which actually pissed off the Black activists because Kendrick had that line at the end where he said, "Why do I weep when Trayvon Martin was slayed in the streets? Gang banging make me kill people blacker than me." This is like the black on black violence thing that the Republicans use to shoot back when you talk about like how blacks are being wrong. And they're like, well, gangs are killing each other. So why are you complaining about police? Kendrick said some ish like that on Blacker to Berry. And this actually pissed off the Black activists. But let me let Academics make his last and final point, then we'll get to the end of this.
Kendrick's music is usually of a place of, yo, these things are fucked up. Let me point out the problems. But let me point out the problems and represent this almost silent majority.
What Kendrick, he said, did he say for the majority? Let me really hear his point before I critique it.
Yo, these things are fucked up.
We'll go back a little bit more.
Oppression. It's like, don't you see BLM? BLM wouldn't be protesting if everything was good. Like, they only operate when shit is bad. Kendrick's music is usually of a place of...
He said usually. He said Kendrick's music is usually from a place of these things are messed up. So y'all know I like to fact check, so let's go fact check. I think people have an issue with how they perceive Kendrick versus what he actually raps about. Is overly dedicated about how things are messed up. No, Kendrick Lamar, overly dedicated, and the EP, these are projects that are just about Kendrick, his life. Let's go to the main studio album, Section 80. Is Section 80 an album about how things are messed up and how Kendrick is going to fix it? Nah, nope. I mean, even the most introspective songs on this album, Po Man's Dream, Cushion Corinthians, they're introspective. Sure, you got a song like Keisha's Song where it's basically Brenda's got a baby. I guess that could fit the mold of what Akademiks is talking about, but the album in general, you listen to Section 80, this is not like some sermon about how the world is messed up. Is Good Kid, Mad City an album about that? Absolutely not. It's about a day in the life of Kendrick. To Pimp a Butterfly, this is really the album that people think they're referencing when they say Kendrick is on some Black Lives Matter raps, again, as if that's a bad thing. But this album isn't even like that. This album got critiqued by the Black activists because of that line I mentioned earlier on Blacker to Berry. Even a song like How Much a Dollar Cost. That's about a biblical verse. King Kunta. I mean, what? Somebody pointed out to me, where are the Kendrick projects writ large, where his music is usually about how things are messed up and how he's on a sermon talking about fixing it? Damn is a mainstream album. Mr. Morale is an album about Kendrick's own flaws. And then you got GNX, which is West Coast Bops. Like, I'm down for really good hip hop debates, but we gotta start with the facts. Like, we can only debate opinions. We can't debate facts. Facts are facts. So if I start off in a debate with you and you have the facts mixed up, there is no debate that can be had until you get the facts right. Because there's no debating facts. Academics.
Facts.
Facts.
Yo, these things are fucked up. Let me point out the problems. But let me point out the problems and represent this almost silent majority, or let me represent the people that are voiceless. I've never seen Kendrick rap from the place where I'm the most popular, not only rapper, I'm the pop star.
Okay. Again, this is just this weird narrative spinning that sometimes Akademiks goes on. And you guys know, generally, I really like Akademiks' channel. I find it interesting. I think he has good points. But like the whole Kendrick and Drake thing, he's like spinning narratives that, again, aren't based in facts. I end a video like this. We can have these conversations. We can critique Kendrick. I've critiqued Kendrick on my channel. Got blowback for it too, but I do it anyways. Because it just is what it is. But we have to start with the facts. If it's going to be a critique, we can't be in the mud about the facts. The only thing we can debate are opinions. Some people have the facts mixed up, such as Kendrick's. He's rapping from number 3 because most of his music is usually about how things are messed up and how he's the silent majority that's going to fix it. When that's not what Kendrick's music is usually about. If you want to be precise, Kendrick's music is usually about himself. All of these albums, for the most part, are about Kendrick, except maybe GNX and except Section 80. Section 80 is the album, Kendrick said it himself, it's an album about us. And then the follow-up was the album about him. So again, it's just poor framing. We can't even have this conversation until the facts are right. Anyway, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Top5rapwebsite.com. Peace.